name is Harold Betters, and I was born in Connellsville, Pennsylvania, March 21st, 1928. I come from a musical family, a family of 7. We all played a musical instrument. I had my oldest sister played piano. Her name is Lena Mason. Well, she got married when she was a Betters, okay. And then Jim was the next oldest, and he played the trumpet. Actually, I wanted to play the trumpet, but I was younger, you know. We started off very young. I started playing the trombone when I was about 7, but as I grew up, I learned to play more. We all had musical lessons, musical teachers. My father was a good musician. He played a violin. He taught us a lot. To go down the family tree, Lila was the oldest, my sister, and then James was the next one playing, and then there was George, and then there was my sister Vera, who didn't play any musical instrument. And then came me, and I played the trombone, and then my brother Edgar played saxophone, and my baby brother Jerry was a singer, actually, but he played drums awful well. In my high school, you couldn't play jazz. It was like unheard of. You don't play jazz. We would sneak and buy stock arrangements, which they put out for little jazz band, and we would get in the band room earlier and start to jam until the conductor come down, and then he's coming in when we'd quit. You could play the marches. Jazz wasn't that popular. When I say popular, you had, they would call Glenn Miller almost pop music, you're right, okay? And Tommy Dorsey, okay? But they didn't have the, what you call real down-to-earth jazz. My dad took me to the Savoy Ballroom in Pittsburgh to see Jack Teagarden, and I think it was J.C. Higginbotham, I'm not too sure. Anyway, to make a funny story, is like I went in to ask Jack Teagarden. My father said, my son talked to you. He plays trombone, and J.C. Higginbotham said, I'm too busy right now before the show. Then my dad said, well, come on, I'll take you over to see Jack Teagarden. So I went to see Jack Teagarden. He said, come on in, you know. So he asked what kind of horn I got, how long I've been playing the trombone. Then he says, don't put oil on your slide. Put cold cream on it and mix it with water. It's faster. So that was a lesson I got there. The funniest thing, after I got done talking to him, I said, thanks so much for talking to me. You're almost as good as Tommy Dorsey. Not thinking. He said, well, you pack your little trombone and get the hell out of here. The reason why I like Tommy Dorsey, he played melodies. And Jack Teagarden improvised jazz, which I learned to do later on. You just can't improvise, bam, 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 you got to fill it and so forth. So anyway, I learned not to insult musicians. Like, you're very good, and that's it. As I said earlier, we have a musical family. My oldest sister played the piano. Her name is Lila Mae Betters, and my oldest brother was Jim Betters. He played the trumpet. You know, he was also the drum major, first black drum major, head drum major of Connellsville, public schools. Okay, and he was very attractive as spinning the baton, played very nice trumpet. And the reason when it comes to George played a sax. And then it come to me, and I wanted to play the trumpet, but Jim was doing too well. So I didn't want no competition, and I said, I think I'll go on the trombone, you know, and so forth, and that's how I started to play the trombone. When I first picked the trombone up, well, I heard Tommy Dorsey on the radio, okay, and I said, I want to be like him. And so it was nice. I played very nice. We played marches to advertise Dugan's ice cream, the band, you know. And some of the boys in my neighborhood played. There was a Howard Shrum and Joe DeConey, you know. And so we all would go to different houses and sit in together. When I first started playing when I was in about the 7th grade, but I didn't play jazz. It was like John Silver's was a popular jazz orchestration, which you played in that, and Honeysuckle Rose, and things like that. So it was melodies, which I liked. I didn't improvise that well, okay? Improvise it takes you're playing you, all right? And I learned to do that as I was talking to other musicians. I met one of my idols. He lived in Jeanette, and he's a big professional trombone, jazz trombone today, Slide Hampton. And he come to Pittsburgh. He wrote the arrangements out, and we sat down with my band and him, and we're two trombone players, you know. That was interesting to me. There's another fellow by the name of Bill Watrous, and fabulous musician. And I never heard of him because he usually played studio bands, you know. And then I heard Frankie Rossellini, you know, fine jazz trombone player, fine. And then the king come up with bebop. Bebop come in, style of music. And that was Mr. J.J. Johnson. And I got the pleasure of playing, but not on the stage with him, you know. And he was my idol. Then I switched, okay, from Dorsey to Teagarden to Slide Hampton, you know. And then Kai Wendy come out with a record with J.J. Johnson, you know. And then jazz was starting to really form. Jack Teagarden was my idol. He was my big jazz man that played. Tommy Dorsey was my pretty man that played, okay? So I took off of them. And then it come to Kay Wendy. Oh, I don't want to leave somebody out. You know, they got a lot of fine trombone players out there that play jazz today. And actually, I wanted to be a studio musician. And a studio musician, I think, does very well financially. You know, you're back to shows. Like if you see the Tonight Show, they had a Tonight Show orchestra, but they're all studio musicians. But they can play jazz too. They can play jazz, they can play marches, they can play, you know, I like that. A classmate of mine, very good musician named Bob McCoy, he got into Tonight Show band, you know, and he was a studio musician, you know. And I didn't care to travel that much. The first band I really traveled with was Ray Charles. And then I got a job back in Dick Gregory in Washington, D.C., the Howard Theater. And then we played the Paula Theater in New York, you know. So he said to me, you know, I didn't know you was that good. Nobody heard of you. You should travel. And I did ask Kay Wendy. And Kay Wendy said, Harold, you're the big catfish here in Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania. You stay there and you got a good job. You're working 5 nights a week. Like I said earlier, if anybody wanted to go to college, I'd say go to be a band leader, you know, conductor. Give a high school band, you know, you work the kindergarten band, and it's a steady living, okay? But now, again, if you feel jazz and love jazz, then you're going to go that way, okay? When I met Slide Hampton, he turned my head around, playing bebop. And it's a style of music. I couldn't understand it. It was like playing a lot of notes, playing a lot of scales, and all that stuff, you know. I figured, it's not interesting to me, except I didn't really listen. And once you listen to a jazz musician, you could put 5 musicians up to play Stardust, and each one will play it different. And then you have to consider which one you like, and it's the jazz guy playing himself. I really liked my sound on the trombone. I thought I had a big sound, okay? And that was because I wanted to play first trombone, be the first trombone player, play higher than any trombone player. I play my music an octave higher, you know, just to be bam, bam, bam out front, you know, things like that. I'll never forget a friend of mine from Harrisburg called me up and said, Harold, a friend of mine came from Pittsburgh and said, I heard the greatest trombone player in the world. And the guy said, and he said, you know who he was? He said, was it Harold Betters? He said, yeah, how'd you know? Okay, but he played second chair to me in the jazz in the high school band, and I beat him out on lead trombone. He said, you beat me out by a couple notes, Harold, you know. So musicians are very friendly, you know. Majority of the ones are very nice. Well, the first job I had was Cleveland, and The guy that was doing my records, he said, you know, Harold, I'm bringing this lady up that owns one of the prestigious clubs in Pittsburgh, and I want you to do good in Cleveland. So I said, go. So when she come in, she smoked a corncob pipe, okay? And her and the producer sat out in the room, and then I could start playing. Boom, 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 boom. So when I got done, they called me over to the table. And she said, Mr. Betters, you're not good. I said, what? You're terrific. Could you start at my club? And I started in Cleveland, and every year I'd have to go to Cleveland for 2 weeks. So that was fun, and that was rewarding money-wise, you know. I did very well at the Encore, money-wise, you know. And I didn't want to travel. I had a lovely wife, nice family, you know, like to come home, talk, and play with them and everything like that, you know. I wanted to play in the big bands like Count Basie. I never got that opportunity. I loved his big band, you know, good trombone section, you know. Well, all the bands have a good brass section, trombone and trumpets, okay? So it's, what do you feel comfortable? And I feel comfortable now playing me and putting not being egotistical, but anyway, I want the drummer to do what I want. I want the piano player to play what I want so I can feature me and I sound good that way. Well, you have to be heard and known. See, and if you travel, that's what Dick Gregory said. When Dick Gregory hired me to back him, he come to Pittsburgh to lecture at the Cathedral of Learning. And I went down to listen to him lecture, okay? And my producer said, here's Harold's new album. And had Rambunctious, that's a club where I was there for 16 years, you know. So Dick never played it till he was torn. He got down to Florida, he called me up from Florida and said, Betters. I said, what? He said, man, you're good. You ain't gonna, nobody heard you. You will get out and travel. Well, I figured, well, you know, I'll think about traveling, you know. And so he called me up and I backed him. I backed him up in Washington and the Apollo Theater. Then I went home. Then I got a call from the bass player from Pittsburgh, was with Ray Charles. His name was Edgar Willis. And he said, hey, Harold, they're looking for a trombone player, and you need experience to come on out on the road. Well, what do I ask for? How much do I ask for? Well, just, you need the experience. Forget what you're going to make. And I, well, okay. So it was like $125. And another guy named Bobby Boswell said, you should get it like $400 or something a week. And I said, oh, I can't go down so I get $400 a week. So Edgar Willis got the phone and said, Ray said you want too much. He won't pay that, you know. And Harold, you need the experience. So that was the first band that I really got in a bus and traveled. I didn't care for that. I was the newest guy in the band. If any room wasn't left, I had to sleep on a sofa, you know. So I figured, oh, this is a jazz thing, but it didn't make it for me. So the experience I got was playing with Dick Gregory first, and then I went with Ray Charles as another band besides me. But it was always the Harold Betters and the Jerry Betters quartet. Actually, it was my brother's band. He was my youngest brother, okay? And it was Jerry Betters. But Jerry's name wasn't Jerry. My brother's name was Jerome. He didn't like the name Jerome. So he said, call me Jerry Betters. But everybody that come thought I was Jerry because I was out front and he was playing the drums. So we got together. Then I liked to play ballads. And my brother Jerry liked to play tempo sass like this, you know. And I said, hey, I want to play something pretty, you know. If it was slow, he would sing it, you know. So I started playing with Jerry. And then later on, I said, Jerry, I'm going to form my own band. And I took a band, and my first band in New York was called Suburban Room. And it's at the East End. And I played the Suburban Room Friday night. And then he said, hey, give me $10. So he said, how would you like to play Friday and Saturday? Man, $20, that's it, nice, you know. So I said, fine. I was at the Suburban Room for about 2 years playing just Friday and Saturday. And then a club called Pit Pot, right in Pittsburgh, called me to come down there to play. And then the guy Then I went to the Pink Cloud, and the guy that owned the Encore had the Pink Cloud, but it was his brother's club. So I would go over and play in the Encore 2 days and play at the Pink Cloud, so forth. So then I was very well known in Pittsburgh. Everybody says you got to get Harold better, There was a band in the Encore, very good piano player band, and he played modern. I don't consider me a modern musician, okay, and very contemporary. I'll put it to that word, like a technical, very good. So I didn't like playing that stuff. And I said, hey, I can't play to the owner, Will Shiner. I said, Mr. Shiner, we ain't hitting it. And I couldn't play with him, so I'm going to quit, but I'm not mad at nothing. He said, oh, no, I got to have you. So I said, okay, well, then I got to get my own piano player, my own bass player, and my own drummer. And we started off there 2 nights a week. Then we went to 3 nights a week. Then we went to 7 nights. We played a Saturday afternoon and a Saturday night. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You know what I mean? Then I had to play prom. I was popular then. And I would get done playing the Encore, pack up and go to prom till like 2 to 5 in the morning, I was very busy, And I enjoyed my life. I enjoyed it. Then when the music came out, bebop, I wanted to learn it. I liked it. I didn't understand it. I asked these guys, hey, how do you do that? And they said, the chord changes. You got to learn the scale and then learn the chord changes and all that. I said, then I felt I was playing like a computer, and I felt a song and I'd like to go do something, which was a jazz fill, So every musician, I think, if I hear a musician, I know who it is. If the radio was here and Stan Getz was playing, I said Stan Getz. Not because I know his sound and his style. And then Harry James, like a nanny trumpet. Okay, you could tell him. Miles Davis, like a cup mute, like a pa, pa, pa. You know them, like singers. Like if you heard Barbra Streisand, you know Barbra Streisand, And that's what I wanted to identify. They knew me, And I think that was my success. Because they were all saying, you're the greatest trombone player. No way. They got guys play so much more trombone than me. They had more that played me. But it was my style, okay? I think that's what made me, my sound and my style, okay? And a lot of the big boys, like they said to me, I was going to say Kai Wendy. I told you, Kay Wendy coming in the Encore, the sub for me when I went to Cleveland. And I asked him, hey, you think I should travel? He said, better, you're the king here in Pittsburgh. You're the big fish here, don't leave. I said, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Well, I almost flunked out in Ithaca. But one of the big time musicians, they said, don't feel bad, he flunked out. I forget, it was a clarinet player, I think, played bop and so forth. So, I enjoyed it, and then I didn't want to teach kids. And, teaching the kids. I didn't want that, teaching. I wanted to play jazz, and so forth. So that's how, and then like I told you, I almost flunked out, and I went to New York, and they had me on, Merv Griffin come into the Encore, and he heard me, and my producer, the record, called them to try to get on. They didn't call. He comes for a benefit, a heart benefit. And I come in the back door late. I was supposed to start at 9, and the band started like 9:20. And I walked in, I was angry about something, and I was playing, watch it. Now, I had a bad habit of yelling at the band members, and I found how bad it looked, and a musician told me that. But you pick up things as you go. I wanted everything to be precise, bow, 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 And so Chuck said, Harold, Merv Griffin's out there. I said, what? He said, Merv Griffin's out in the front. Oh, bam! Then I figured I'm going to really give it to him. Then Merv Griffin waved to me like, hey, come in here. I said, how you doing? He said, man, how would you like to be on my show? I said, I'd love to be on. I tried to get on. Well, you can get on next week. And I got on there. That was a stepping stone, okay? And then a guy heard me in Cleveland and said, how would you like to be on the Mike Douglas show? He said, "You're terrific." I said, "I'd love to." He said, "You're on next week." So I went down there. I was on the Mike Douglas show, you know. Then we went and we tried out for the Tonight Show. But they said the list was too long. He wouldn't get on until about a couple of years of bands coming in. That was with my band, okay? Television is good for exposure. See, once they see you on TV, wow, that guy's good. Wow, you know what I mean? But if you're not exposed, nobody knows about you, you know? Getting back to your style, if I play a wedding, I'm going to play different than I do in a club. I play to the people, okay, what I think they would like. I watch the ages. If I play weddings, you know, like I couldn't play at a good wedding. They want to hear this or what's this jazz stuff they talk about? Hip hop. You know, there's a trombone player out now which is playing the modern music, which I call the modern music. His name is Trombone Shorty, and he's a performer. And I found out you got to be a performer to really go uphill. Michael Jackson was a performer and a fine musician. To me, he was a genius. You know, just to get and play in his band and listen to him and play, I'd feel honored, you know. You'll never find another Michael Jackson in maybe 100 years. I feel that way. Of course, you don't have to like everything I like. I don't have to like everything you like. I had to play polkas. I like playing polkas. And my brother George didn't like to play polkas, and he wouldn't play. And we played a Slovak call over on 8th Street where we lived. And I called number 4 in the book. And my brother George said, "I ain't playing it, Harold. I ain't playing it." I said, "I'm going to call Dad." And he said, "Oh, I ain't going to play it." So I got on the phone. "Dad, what do you want, Harold?" "George won't play number 4 in the polka book." "I'll be right up." And when I hang up like that, "George, I'll play it. I just don't like playing it." You know? So we were funny like that. So I'm saying, I like polkas because I see the people enjoying themselves, you know, playing it. And then if I play weddings, they want to hear Tommy Dorsey. They want to hear Glenn Miller. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So you got to be preferred that. You see what I mean? So I try to pick the crowds out. Then they like versions that I do. I play a number called Through the Eyes of Love. I liked the song. My wife liked it. It was my favorite for my wife. You know, it's a pretty song. That was one of my favorites. And the public went nice. When I play it, they really play that song again, you know. There's another one called Once Upon a Time, you know. Beautiful melody, beautiful stories. Today, it's not like that. I'm not condemning today. It's like eras. You just change, you know, with what's popular. When I went to the Army band, to get in the Army band, they wouldn't let me in because I was black. That's when it's segregation. There was a white barracks and a black barracks. And that turned me bad. I couldn't deal with that. So I asked to get in the band. God bless my mother went up to, it was up in Camp Edwards, Massachusetts. My mother walked in to see the general and everybody. My son, I put him through college, and he can play music. And I went, "Well, Mrs. Better, we can't let him." It's not that. It's like they have a white Eric. And so they asked me, "Would you take a musical test to get in a band?" It was a 308th Army band. Yeah, I love it, because I just come out of Ithaca. And I was taught about how to teach, put the blinds down so nobody could distract her from the outside, you know, and this. And then I knew when I was in school, if I didn't know the answer for the teacher said, I'd keep quiet. I wouldn't say nothing. I said, I'm going to make them talk. So when I got in the class, I said, you are going to know what any kind of a note was. Enharmonic, I think I said. Enharmonic means the same note, but different letters. Like you're going to play an A sharp, you know, it's B flat. But I got into my teaching thing, you know, and then they said, well, they voted to get me in. I didn't know this. And when they voted to get me in, they said, you got in, 4 people went and didn't want you. And my best friend was the one that didn't want me in. And he come with tears. When I was in for 2 years. When we were breaking up, he's from New York. I forget what part of New York. Wasn't the city of New York. Near Buffalo, New York. Anyway, he come to me when we got discharged. He cried like a baby. I said, hey, what's the matter? I thought it was just a family. And he said, I want you to know I voted against you coming in the band. And you were my best buddy. So there was a little racial tension there, you know. Well, how do you think, well, I felt when they put us in, when I marched, Molinera has a marching band. And that was like the big thing in Connellsville. When you went to the high school band, when you're done, if you can play in Molinera's band, it's top notch. So I was in the Molinera's band. I marched myself down to the Army. But when we got to the Army, the trucks let us out and said, okay, you, and I noticed the black. And get in that truck over there. So then we had to go out where the grass wasn't green, the yellow barracks, you know what you see? Man, it's shabby. I went, wow. So then I shouldn't say it. I figured, what am I fighting for? You know? It was very, very damaging to me. I couldn't understand it. So I went through that little turmoil. When I went down to play in Georgia somewhere, they said, don't go over 50 miles an hour or you get a ticket. See, I couldn't deal with the racial thing. Then when I was with Ray Charles, we had to play two shows. A show for the white first, then they emptied, and then the show for the black, you know. I hate to bring up race, but I gotta say, honestly, it bothered me. Well, yeah, when I played the second show, a white girl jumped over you know when you go to a movie and you have these cloth tape, like chains, you know, up this way and down that way? Well, they had it like roped off. And this white girl jumped over to dance with a black guy. Man, police come out there, bow, 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 with their blackjack. I went, Edgar Lou, you don't do it down here. You don't do this down here in South. We were in South, you know. And I'll never forget when I had to get Ray Charles, I had to go take a bus down to North Carolina. And when I got in the restroom waiting on the band to come to the bus, I looked up the wall and said, blacks. I went, what? And I looked like I said, whites. I went, God, I ran over there because I'm figuring lynching, you know, and all that stuff. So that was a setback to me. And now I look at it, boy, we've came a long way. You know what I mean? There was prejudice in Connellsville. But Dick Gregory, bright man, he said, what causes prejudice? He looked at them and said, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, your other great-grand, and it was because it was a tradition they carried on. Oh, you don't sit with the black. Oh, you don't eat, they don't eat, you know, that's what really comes down to, you know. I think so, okay? But it's nice now, you know. My father said, Harold, when you play that trombone, you better play faster than the white boy, and you better play higher than him. You distilled that in me. So I was going, pow, pow, I wanted everything, you know, right. Maybe it's a wrong way to think, but that was it. We had a couple movie theaters. We had to sit upstairs. And that a little bit bothered me, yeah, you know. So I hate to bring that up because then it can cause a lot of people to hate you. And I will swear, Connellsville has been very nice to me, you know. But I had a very educated and smart father. I've been very lucky, and I love to talk to musicians. And they say, how'd you do that? How'd you do that? You know, I bugged J.J. Johnson. He came in like a half hour earlier, and I asked, could I go back to talk with him? So yeah, so he's there putting his horn together. I say, hey, J.J., what do you think of Kay Wendy? He's nice. No response. How about what's called? He's okay. He wouldn't give me no feedback, you know. But then what you do is, like this young kid I'm teaching, he likes all the songs I play. He plays a lot of my songs. And he's 14 now. He was 13. You got to hear him, you know. But he likes me. The bass player said, you ought to let him to play like JJ's thing. I said, he doesn't want that. In fact, that's hard to play, that bebop stuff, you know what I mean? But the kid liked what he heard. You know, I liked what I heard when I saw Tommy Dorsey. I liked what I heard when I saw, you know, Kay Wendy. You know, you got to like the guys. And Frankie Rossellini, I met him, a happy guy. He yodels, you know, and I figure, how can you yodel square and be a bop player, you know, a modern player? Played the baritone horn in high school. That and the trombone. Baritone has a pretty sound. It's deep. In the symphonies, I like a cello. See? You get a French horn, too. If I could get a sound close to like a French horn, that'd be beautiful. When Joe Anastasia took me in the back room, and I loved the room, trombones all over the wall, I figured, wow, it looks nice, So I start playing one looked prettier than the other, and I figured, I don't know when I went. So he said to me, Harold, you know Frankie, Kay Wendy? I said, I met him once in Pittsburgh. He said, okay, let's go in and may help us out. Soon as I opened the door, Kay Wendy went, Betters, how you doing? And the president, he was talking to the president of the King Company. And the guy says, do you know him? He said, oh, he's one of your greatest trombone players coming up. He said, Joe said, well, I wanted to get him 10%. And Kay Wendy said, you don't charge him. He's one of the guys. They give me a trombone. If you're going to ask me the most embarrassment moment I had a job in Cleveland, paid big money. So I went there, we wore tux, I put my trombone in the car. I forgot I took the mouthpieces out to practice. No mouthpiece. So I'm laying around, we better eat and then relax, Now it's getting late, and I said, I want to wipe the horn off. I took the horn out, looking for the mouthpiece. No mouthpiece. Oh, my goodness. I think I called my daughter, too, and said, they got any stores up there or something? I said, no. So they called the members of that country club, and they said, this one guy used to play, but it's an old trombone. I said, tell him to bring the mouthpiece. That's all right. He brought the mouthpiece, and I made it. Because I said, I couldn't sing all night. They paid for me to play, So that was an accident I had. And a guy interviewed me, asked me what was the worst accident. That was the best, And then I had a half hour to start playing. And the mouthpieces are different. They're not all like one that fits at all. One was a plastic one he had, clear glass like, and the other one was a steel, closer to my lip here. They call this the armature through here, But that was the, and then one time I forgot my trombone when I was younger. I played with my brother Jerry, and the guy had a valve trombone. Lucky I could play the baritone horn. Slide Hampton is a big trombone player. When I say big guys, you don't question these guys, okay? Anyway, he's conducting a band, 20 trombones, okay? They're rehearsing. And my friend goes to me and says, where's Bill Waters? And Bill's sitting in the audience like this. I said, there he is. And they said, but my trombone player said, how come he ain't playing? I said, he don't have to. They got to warm up for him. You know what I mean? And he goes after a minute, pow, like, pow, you know what I mean? I said, I watch what they do. Then I like artists. I love Billy Eckstein, how he posture. You want to, Slide Hampton liked a musician, I forget his name. He said, but when I was coming up, he wore a beanie. Like the French guys. He said, and I always put a beanie on because he liked him. You know what I mean? Oh, musicians are funny, My grandson, he plays drums. He's kind of a great, talented kid, very talented kid. He's my daughter's boy, And both boys can play, but this one's at it more playing with the band, okay? But they both play that. But no, that's Kevin. He never played. He played a clarinet. My son, my youngest son, played clarinet, for a while. But I'm glad to see, at least they got the interest. My grandson watching me, and then the other boy is very dapper. I like that. I always like to dress nice. And he wants top of the line designer clothes, you know what I mean? And the other was night and day, more like my dad. The oldest boy is like, quiet, don't talk much. My dad didn't talk much, But we had a loving family. And my family is gorgeous. I got my oldest son, my daughter, which is here, and also my youngest son. He played the clarinet, and he put it like this. You're supposed to play it like this. He played it like a flute. But I'm very fortunate. I had a wonderful wife, Comical, kept me in a good spirit all the time. very, very good-looking woman, you know. Yeah, and when I went to Massachusetts, I met her in the Army. When I saw her come in, I went, wow! So I said to the saxophone player, what's their name? Oh, that's the Tims. You don't want to go with the Tim family. That dad will shoot you if you don't get them in by 9 o'clock. I said, okay, you know. So I started flirting with her, and then I said, only way to get her to like me, I'm going to put more attention to the other girl, you know. And she's there, and I take a break. How you young ladies doing? Something I can play for you? You know. But I kept my eyes on that, and I kept going. She said, okay, play this, play that. And my wife didn't say nothing, just sitting like that. I said, well, I'd like to take you to dinner. Where would you like to go? Well, there was a Chinese restaurant called Charlie Wong's. She said, oh, I'd like Charlie Wong's. I said, we're there, come on. You know, but she was fun. And her dad, you know, they had the outhouse. And the mother said, Harold can't wash in cold water. I said, well, I love it. I wash in cold water. I never wash in cold, you know, it was a pump water. I said, I'll take care. I want to make points. Oh. Number one, I would say to her, are you sure you want to be a musician? You know what musicians make. You're going to get married and have a family. You want to make sure you return. So that's good. But then again, there's different, you don't want to, if I was going to say you're going to college to be a musician, I want you to go to college to direct a high school band or any high school band because you're a teacher and you're making music. If you're going to go to play jazz, you got to play in a restaurant or a bar, and he's controlled. If you say, I want $500, oh no, I'll give you $300. I'm trying to make you know, or if you're playing the symphony, they got, like a teacher, paid education, you know, but just to make it as a musician, not jazz, you know, get a day job and play jazz. Beautiful. I'm very blessed to have the family I have. I'm very blessed to be alive today. A lot of my friends have passed away. And I just hope to continue to watch. I'm enjoying my grandkids now. My great-grandkids are really fun, you know. They're wild watching them, you know. But that's my life today. I just, you know, I got a dog, 4 cats, you know, I mean, they got names. I call them by their name, you know. Now I got a new puppy because my one's about over 10 years old, the dog, and I wanted to get another dog before he passed. But anyway, I want to thank all the people for Connellsville making that Harold Veterans Day, you know. My daughters, Cheryl and Susie, they put all this together, you know, and it paid off. I got a Harold Veterans Day. Going to have a band shelter named after me, you know what I mean? And this club is just beautiful. And they did a nice job just playing my records and everything. So I was lucky.